Good afternoon, everybody. On this Monday, March 24th, 2025, you made it to the end of Monday, the first Monday of the spring. It's all downhill from here. And we got a good one for you today. I've got an octopus hitchhiking on a shark. We'll start with that content. And then Bachelor finales tonight. We'll play the trailer for the hopefully interesting finale. And then there's a Chiefs lawsuit. Kansas City Chiefs player was accused of DV, and now he's suing his accuser. I guess he's got some evidence that it was an extortion attempt. Also, Ryan Reynolds is getting flack for using his kid, a old Nepo baby, as it were, in his Deadpool vs. Wolverine movie, pissing off a lot of parents out there. Did he go too far? We'll discuss that. And Trump's upset about the portrait that was done of him in Colorado. Wants it taken down. Says it's not a flattering shot. I guess they didn't use enough orange paint. I don't know. And then we'll discuss a family deported after being in the United States for 35 years. We'll continue to discuss the ongoing issues regarding our systems and the collateral damage to the fabric of our country. All of this and so much more. It's all happening right now on The Rush. Well, you know me, I scour the internet for all of the top stories of the day, and they always say if it bleeds, it leads. But how about this? If it rides shotgun on a shark, I'll make it my top video. Here is Octopus riding on a shark's back. Have a listen.
Rare footage captured by scientists in New Zealand in 2023 shows an octopus riding on the back of a shark, an unusual duo dubbed the Sharktopus. In a recently released study, researchers say they still aren't sure how the deep-sea dwelling Maori octopus ended up on the mako shark, which typically stays closer to the surface. They believe it may have been a joyride for this octopus, since makos are the world's fastest shark species and can swim as fast as 46 miles per hour.
I love it, right? The scientists are like, we don't know, just call it a joyride. Why are we studying this? You know, the world's full of pollutants and the global warming's heating up, and we're like, but how about that octopus on a shark? I get it. Look, octopuses are smart. I think they're aliens, if you ask me. I don't think they really belong with any other animal species out here, right? They're just crazy, but hey, we like them, right? We like them. All right, well, speaking of crazy, but we like them, Bachelor fans, and here we have possibly the last episode of Bachelor ever. Now, I'm not saying I want this. I wish the show was amazing and brought us back and brought us all together like the good old days of Peter Weber and Hannah Brown, but that's just not the case. We know the Bachelor franchise has canceled The Bachelorette for this year. It does have Bachelor in Paradise coming this summer, but this might be the last episode in a long time. Here's Grant looking for love on tonight's season finale. Here's the trailer.
I have a choice between two women. It's supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and my emotions are just everywhere. I don't know how you look at somebody that you really love and tell them that you can't be with them. Give me a second, man. It's impossible.
Both women are on their way here right now. I really need to know which one to send first.
Season finale tonight, 8/7 Central. I mean, look, sometimes a season can be boring and then deliver in the finale. And I will be not one who doesn't watch and then afterwards find out you missed it. That's what the Rush Hour podcast is all about. Letting you know what's going on so you don't feel stupid when all your friends are like, hey, isn't the Final Four great? And you're like, I don't really get it. So either way, whether it's sharks or, shotgunning octopus or Bachelor finale, we'll watch it. I'll let you know. I'll let you know on the next, on the morning rush if it was any good. We'll have to see. And by the way, I mean, it doesn't bode well for Grant if he can't decide which person he wants to marry. If you can't decide, don't engage. Just don't do it. Just wait. Now, the show doesn't do well for that. They pressure you to do the proposal, but we'll have to see how it goes. Well, 23andMe has been facing financial challenges. It is a company where you submit your blood or DNA, whatever, swab of DNA, I guess, not blood, swab, you spit your haktua into the little valve, and next thing you know, you find out that your dad cheated on your mom. That's kind of how it works, right? How many people were exposed for infidelity because of 23andMe? Either way, there's many issues with the companies like this. What are they going to do with your data? Have a listen.
In a Testing company 23andMe has been facing serious financial challenges for months now. Last fall, it announced major corporate restructuring, and that's when concerns of what could happen to users' data started surfacing. On Friday, the Attorney General of California, where 23andMe is headquartered, urged customers to request their information be purged. He says they should consider invoking their rights and directing the company to delete their data and destroy samples of their genetic material. He said if 23andMe were involved in a bankruptcy, merger, or sale, personal data may also be sold or transferred. 23andMe reports more than 15 million customers worldwide, so a lot of people impacted by this. The company, though, has seen a massive sell-off. Once worth $6 billion before the bankruptcy news, it had lost nearly 98% of its value. So here's what you need to do if you use...
All right, so then they get into it. You log into your account, you call your son because you don't know how to find your password. Honey, what's my 23andMe password? It's like, I don't even know how to get into my Gmail. What are you talking about, 23andMe? So look, I mean, this is the world. What could the information be used for? Well, you could sell it to some pharmaceutical company to develop some sort of cure for things. That would be nice. But I don't know. It could also be used to clone people and create some sort of, bot army against, I don't know. I mean, billionaires and the people that be, they'll find a way to use it against your best interest. That's what I know. I mean, I'm sure Amazon's going to want to buy it. Why? I don't even know yet. I don't even know in which direction to be angry, but I know it's not going to, I know a company's not going to buy 23andMe and then all of a sudden we all get 50 grand in the bank. Like, that's just not going to happen. So we'll have to see how it goes down. All right. Kind of a serious story here, kind of very serious. Drake Bell speaks with Josh Peck about finding out about his abuser. So Drake and Josh teamed up to talk about Quiet on Set, the dark side of kids' TV, publicly for the first time. This is where it was revealed how Josh first found out about the abuse Drake suffered from their former dialogue coach, Brian Peck. It's really sad, but also interesting, and I think very cathartic for them to speak to each other. When you talk about instances so serious like this, I think there's a stigma about survivors sharing their conversations because nobody wants to get into it. It's so, but I think it's so important that we promote just the rising up above it and know you're not the sum total of whatever whatever you dealt with, whatever, as a victim. You're more than that, and to be able to talk through that and above that, I think really shows that you'll never be labeled by just that experience that happened to you. Like, that's not you. Have a listen.
As that big break between Drake and Josh and Amanda show is when I told my mom what was going on. We went to the police, the investigation, all of the stuff that you saw in the documentary. That was when all of that was going on. And then when we shot the pilot, we were in the middle of the investigation, but nobody had known anything because Brian hadn't been arrested.
Right.
So I had to come back from where, like the Amanda show, where the dude was, where the abuse was happening.
Yes.
The worst part about it being that was my having the monster in your own in your safe place. It's like that's the only place I feel comfortable is when I get to set and hang out with you guys and we go goof around and put on our masks and wigs and makeup and make people laugh and slide around and get dirty. Like, that's where I feel safe, but it's like, it sucks because it's like, shit, that, like, And
then he was gone, and I didn't know anything except I had a feeling something happened. And I remember we're in the car, it was you, me, and Jill, and I said, you still talk to Brian? And you just looked at me like, no, Brian's a really bad guy. And I remember thinking, gotcha. I remember, I think it was months after this, I got a text from someone who worked on the show saying, Brian's arrested.
Wow.
He's going to jail. And I think through my simple teenager mind, I just thought, oh, thank God. Like, thank God. He's going to jail. Good.
Wow. So it's pretty heavy stuff, but I think, like I said before, I think it's cathartic for them and also for audiences to see that justice does prevail. And also a bigger sort of issue now that I've got a son, you look at the world in a different way. How do I protect my own? And you think that you're going to have your kid on a kids show, and it's a friendly, and it's Nickelodeon, or all these things, and then your guard gets let down, and sadly, those places are magnets for creeps and for predators and things like that. And it's just sad all around. And just a reminder to everybody out there to really listen to your intuition and make sure I don't know what you do other than try your best to have an open line of communication with your kids, really. All right, well, coming up next, we have the Chiefs star who is suing his accuser and claiming she tried to extort him. That next. Now, I truly believe this when I say that when we share instances of someone faking abuse or things like that, it most likely has to do with money or power or equity or access, and it most likely has to do with athletes and famous people. Those are the targets. When you talk about magnets, the targets of people are those that have a hell of a lot of money that might not be believed. And in this case, Chiefs Xavier Worthy is suing a DV accuser, says she abused him and tried to extort him. Xavier Worthy is suing his ex, alleging she abused him and fabricated claims of DV in an effort to extort a home, money, cars, and other valuables from him. The Kansas City Chiefs star filed the lawsuit in Texas on Monday, this morning, less than 3 weeks after he was arrested over Tia Jones' claims he choked her during a March 7th dispute at their Williamson County home. So again, this isn't just some random person that you took home from the club and it became an issue. This is a real serious allegation as they were living together. So she talked about being an NFL wife. Worthy alleged in the documents that he's actually the real victim, claiming Jones was the one who became violent and extortive after he says he found out in late February that she had cheated on him. He claims he asked her repeatedly to leave their home after the alleged infidelity and even offered to get her an apartment to allow her time to get back on her feet. The NFL player, though, said she refused and became enraged in a series of abusive, extortive efforts. So there's a photo of things broken, a desk and broken there. Worthy states she destroyed his game room. Oh, don't go after the game room. On March 7th, breaking his desk and a PlayStation 5. He said a short time later she scratched his face and ripped huge chunks of his hair from his head, and there's photo evidence of that. So at least he's got the receipts. The 21-year-old wide receiver claims Jones, who was his fiancée at the time of their relationship, ended altercation this month, then made up a story of repeated abuse by Worthy in a petition to get a protective order. So he's got the photos of dreadlocks ripped out. To make matters worse, Worthy alleges while he was in police custody over some of her claims, she stole or destroyed over $150,000 worth of his personal property and cash from the residence, including a handgun, bracelets, and more. Says she's exhibited similar behavior in at least one previous high-profile relationship she was in. So again, that would probably come up in court. And by the way, just a reminder, you look at a mugshot. Everybody looks guilty in a mugshot. We always look at it from that perspective, like what could you have done? And I'm not here advocating for him. He's making claims against her after he was the one arrested because of claims she made. I don't know anything other than what these claims are. But if they have evidence that she has done something similar in a high-profile relationship before, and he's got evidence of her hurting him, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I think what we're learning is pro sports teams will let this play out in court and try their best to say, hey, we can just wait and see how this plays out. Now, Taylor Lorenz, she might say, well, stories like this dismantles the Me Too movement because women shouldn't be believed. Just remember, in this case, the woman was believed, right? He was the one arrested. She was believed. So the system works through it. And sadly, I think it works better for people that have a lot of money because they can hire lawyers and obviously learn their rights and acquire the evidence they need and whatnot. But we'll be following this case to see who's on the right side of this story. But as it's all said and done, right now, if he's got any evidence to back up his claims that she's done this in the past and whatnot, if he's got any evidence of her trying to extort him, I think that'll look very good for him. And he's only 21 years old, so he'll have a long career ahead of him, if that's true. Now, there's no room in the NFL or any major sporting leagues for anyone who lays their hands on a woman. There's no room room for that. And if there's any evidence of that, then the tides will turn. So interesting case. And again, he wrote in his lawsuit that it's all done some serious harm to not only his body and his property, but his credibility, veracity, and reputation. He's suing for $250,000 in damages. All right, well, let's get to the latest story in the Blake Lively versus Ryan Reynolds. It could be Blake Lively versus Ryan Reynolds by the time this thing's over. Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni. Of course, there's a treasure trove of content coming out, mainly from all of the press junkets that Ryan Reynolds has done for Deadpool, that they're kind of looking with a new eye at some of his problematic behavior. Ryan Reynolds admits to coaching his daughter, who is 7 years old, to deliver sick and disturbing line in his film Deadpool and Wolverine. And look, I mean, there's a bunch of movies out there where there's a kid who says the F word, and it's kind of like a punchline because it's provocative to hear a kid say a line. And this is kind of a disturbing situation. In a commentary track for Deadpool and Wolverine's Deadpool Corp scenes in 2024, Ryan joined director of the movie Sean Levy to share all things behind the scenes. It revealed they had cajoled his daughter into saying this line, which she had to repeat 70 to 500 times on set. And the line was, "Hey, when I want your opinion, I'll take Wolverine's dick out of your mouth." And that's the foul-mouthed line of Kidpool, played by his daughter. Now, I don't understand why he had to cast his daughter because, first of all, they're all wearing these masks, so you can't even tell who it is. It's not like it's going to help her acting real. But here is a clip from that scene. I'll say this. There's one good thing that they did, which is rather than give the kid a fake gun, they gave the kid water pistols. So there's a little little nice part there. But anyway, let's listen to this.
Hilarious. When the Deadpool Corps attacks Nice Bull, guess what Kidpool is using? Yep, it's water guns. Throughout the fight, Kidpool only uses water guns. In an R-rated movie known for its wild humor and action, this scene stayed child-friendly. There is no child abuse, no animal harm. That's why Baby Pool, Kid Pool, and Dog Pool didn't join the brutal battle.
All right, so yeah, there was a brutal battle and they took the kids out of it. Now, that's a nice PR version of what happened, but you could argue that, well, what's the bigger deal? Using the water guns versus the real guns, or saying, get Wolverine's dick out of your mouth, telling a 7-year-old to say dick. And it's one of those things, like you're probably not going to see there's going to be no investigations over it. It's just an example that has outraged people over, what they're saying is, too far. And to be quite honest, when you work in Hollywood, you probably are a little bit more, willing to, I hate to say exploit your kid, because you have to be very careful. I'm not saying I would do that, but you look at it and you go, well, he wanted to cast the whole family and the whole show's provocative. So if everyone's provocative, wouldn't the kid be provocative? But again, could you have found a line, because I'm not defending him, but could you have found a line that was good and funny that wasn't get his dick out of your mouth? You know what I mean? Like there could have been probably plenty of things you could have said that wouldn't go there. But audiences are looking at all of this and they're kind of, they're saying, hey, this is kind of messed up. Someone said, wow, this is unbelievable. Whatever happened to protecting young children? So sad. Wow, it's such a sick family. I'm speechless. That's some form of child abuse. Now, and clearly it's not, because otherwise they would be investigated for it, right? But it is problematic at the very least when you accompany it by all the other things going on with this family. But again, I'm kind of looking at it like, well, yeah, it's, it's not like a 12-year-old or like a teen, it's like the 7-year-old. It's like, even if your kid doesn't even know what that means, it's like, why? You could have hired anybody. You could have done a voiceover, it didn't even have to be your kid, right? So either way, it's just another thing that will be coming out as PR companies struggle to keep a good image. All of this would have been avoided if these lawsuits weren't happening. All of this would have been avoided. So it's interesting, And again, I don't have any plans on having my child be in the world of entertainment. If he wants to, fine. But there is that sort of like wanting your kid to be as pure for as long as possible. Where I got a 10-month-old, and when you see your child and your baby, and they're just like, you're the whole universe to them. They don't know anything other than the love you share with them. And I got to be honest, at this stage of my life, I wish I could just keep keep this world. Like, this is why we're not going to have, this is why we're not going to be introducing cell phones to our child for a very long time, because I don't want any amount of the outside world to permeate this beautiful baby while he hibernates and becomes, really, comes into his own character. So either way, but I'm not judging them. It is kind of, you got to be, when you look at that Drake Bell story we had earlier, you got to be careful. You got to be careful how you bring your kids into this world. And I got to tell you what, I'm sure if there's anything that convinces Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively to drop this case or try to settle, it would be trying to protect their kids. But, I know they have like the physical security and all of that, but what's going to come of, their ability to Google search all of this in the future? So anyhow, I hope they're putting some money aside for therapy. All right, well, let's get to this story. Donald Trump not happy. Demands for a purposefully distorted portrait to be taken down. He says he doesn't like the portrait of him. And by the way, there is a boatload of crises happening across our country and the globe, multiple wars. And here we are saying, this is almost like, you ever take a photo with your friend and you look bad in the photo and you're like, can you not pose that photo? I got 7 chins. I got a lazy eye. My eyeball's drifting. I've got a snaggled, and they're like, no, we look great. Anyway, here he is trying to get the portrait taken down.
Trump really hates this portrait in the Colorado state capitol, and he's demanding for it to be taken down. In a Truth Social post, the president complained that the same artist's portrait of Obama looks wonderful, whilst he has been purposefully distorted to look truly the worst. Donald Trump really...
I think he looks pretty good in the photo. I don't understand. I think maybe his jowls are a certain way, but it actually looks like they took some pounds off of him in the photo. But hey, what can you do? You're right. This is the Streisand effect. The more he complains about the photo, the more people are going to be putting this on their T-shirts when they attend, Tesla protests, which I don't recommend. But, vote with your dollar. If you don't want to buy a Tesla, don't. But no physical damage to people's cars. All right, and here is another very sad, scary story. This is the Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security, saying they're going to take away legal protections for 500,000 people. This isn't 230 folks sent to El Salvador, which again was terrible. This is 500,000 people. This is like if you took, everyone that goes to the Super Bowl and multiply that by 10, right? This is a lot of people. So have a listen to this.
Administration says that as soon as next month, they're going to be ending the legal status of more than 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. If they don't leave before losing that status, they could be targets for deportation. So these migrants were allowed into this country legally under a program from the Biden administration. It allows them to come here if they meet certain conditions and to be able to work for 2 years, and that is something that they're able to renew. Now, advocacy groups say that these migrants have been contributing to the U.S. economy, and that if they are forced to return to their home countries, this could put their lives at grave danger.
Yeah, so there was this idea that these migrants, they're coming for your cats and your dogs. They're eating the goose. They're eating the geese. But in fact, there's been some cities that the migrants are going to where the cities are not doing well economically, and they actually need this workforce here. In fact, the American Immigration Council estimated that a long-term deportation, if you deport 1 million people per year until there's no undocumented population, that is a 4.2 to 6.8% loss in GDP, totaling $1.7 trillion in losses. Now, I'm not saying they're going to even be able to deport that many people, but it's still pretty wild out there because this is affecting people left and right. Here's an Orange County couple that came to the United States without authorization 35 years ago, raised 3 daughters, and now have a new grandson. And they were reported to Colombia earlier this week. And the question is not really were they here legally or not? It's what can we do in good faith to have a justice system, immigration judges, look at cases to decide who deserves to stay. And you would think that in most cases, if they're functioning and paying taxes, we want these types of people here. Have a listen.
And
immigrated to California 35 years ago have lost their fight to remain in the U.S. and had been deported back to Colombia. 59-year-old Nelson Gonzalez and his 55-year-old wife Gladys were detained last month during a regular check-in with U.S. immigration officials. Their daughter Stephanie told KTLA her parents were handcuffed by their wrists and ankles and taken to the first of several detention centers. Even though they did not have a criminal record, ICE determined that they were in violation of immigration law and had them deported.
These are people that have a new grandson, and their grandparents, and they're, probably having little family dinners where they buy from the local market. I mean, think of all of the money that will leave the country when people like this no longer are there, propping up all of the local coffee shops and Walmarts. And anyhow, Michael Franti says, does everyone feel safer or just superior? Because you have to remember, the goalposts have been shifted. Everyone said, yeah, if there's a dangerous immigrant here, deport them, do that. But then now what people are realizing is, oh, that's what they were already doing. Doy. So now they're just kind of juicing it and coming after anybody. And look, we are a melting pot, our country is. And I feel like most people, when you take away the fear aspect, realize these aren't folks that are stealing your jobs. These are people that have, been here since I was 4 years old. 1989. So AOC posted this. I mean, there is a groundswell of sort of support right now for AOC and Bernie Sanders. They're touring the country. 86,000 people in 3 days. They received a bigger audience than Bernie got when he was running for president. In Arizona, Colorado, and Nevada, millions more watched at home. People all across the country willing to fight for a better world. AOC says that our first stop alone, half the crowd were brand new people, not previously on any of our lists or contacts. Many were first timers. What is happening right now is different. We must use this moment to fight back and defend our democracy. And look, I'll get comments from people that are saying, well, if they're not here legally, get them out. And it's like, all right, let's pull back. Let's zoom out and look at the fabric of our country. What do we really want? Most of us are in the middle class in some aspect, low, middle, or upper middle class. And most people just want their taxes to go to good things like schools and safe roads and safe bridges. Most people want to be able to afford college and to send their kids, away to school or to a summer camp. Most people want to be able to afford the new roof they might need on their house or health care. These things are not greedy wishes by the people, but by kicking out people and making propaganda videos of sending out dangerous people that really aren't, it's really all for show. And why are we doing that for show? Why are we talking about annexing Canada or Panama or Greenland and not supporting our allies in wars? Why? What is this doing to raise the mood with our country? As they say, it's easier to sort of divide by fear than by love. But I think fear wears out. I mean this. I think fear wears out. And when that crazy dopamine surge you get from, they're going to get us, they're eating the geese, when that wears out, who's going to unite us? And by using love and by sharing common truths that we all want a chance at life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, I bet on that winning out. We'll have to see. And you guys can decide with the content you watch and who you support what you think will win out. But I'm betting on love and acceptance and coming together and rejecting the fears that were being sold. We'll be back in the morning. See you then. I'm Dave Neal. This is The Rush.